going to change the rear brakes on a 5th gen Chevy Camaro. I'll show you how you can do this at home. I went ahead and went with the Wherever Platinum kit. Gave me the brake shoes and the brake holder so I don't have to worry about cleaning the old ones. As far as your tools today, you're going to use a ratchet, torque wrench, maybe a breaker bar, sockets from 12 millimeters up to 22 millimeters, needle nose, groove joint pliers, maybe a rubber mallet, a car jack, some brake pads, some great brake grease, just all the normal stuff that you need to actually take the wheels off and put the brake pads on. Now we'll be jacking the vehicle up, and the first thing we want to make sure is that you are using that jack properly. Now if you're using one of these flat jacks like this, make sure you line it up in the same direction as the vehicle, because when you start pulling and tugging at that wheel, that vehicle may start rocking. If you have it turned the wrong way, that vehicle is going to rock right off, and it may fall on you or even cause damage on your vehicle. So keep in mind, this is the inappropriate way you should actually have that jack on that vehicle. You start pulling on those wheels to get them off, they'll fall. Make sure you secure those wheels. You could either use 2x4s, you can use bricks, you can use 4x4s. The last thing you want is for this vehicle to start rocking. Next, we need to go ahead and loosen up the wheels. So jack the vehicle up just slightly and loosen up those lug nuts a little bit. Use a cross pattern. Make sure when you loosen up one lug nut, you loosen up the one on the exact opposite side. Go in a cross pattern again, a cross pattern. Do not go in an exact circle when loosening up those lug nuts. So after you jack the vehicle all the way up, go ahead and remove the rest of the lug nuts. If the wheel still doesn't come off, feel free to go ahead and use that rubber mallet that you had and just give them a slight tap on each side, again in that same cross pattern, so we can just get that wheel a little bit loose. Don't hit too hard, just tap it from side to side. Once you get that loose, go ahead and take the wheel off. Now for safety, if you have an extra wheel sitting around, go ahead and secure that under the bottom of the vehicle. That'll give you a little extra added security just in case some freak accident happens where you bump the vehicle and it falls. So for me, I had brake pad covers on. I have to take those and remove those.
Screaming hell, but there's no one to hear me now. Not the way that it's supposed to be.
This is where you're going to go ahead and use that 14 millimeter. You'll see two spots where you actually need to remove those bolts. Here, right down here.
I can see it in your eyes, but I come to realize it's never been real. All you do is play around, play with.
Now once you get those bolts loose, that's where that needle nose will come into play. Lock that on, and you'll be able to ratchet loose the rest. You'll need to do that for the top and the bottom. Lock it in, ratchet it loose.
I'm screaming hell, but there's no one to hear me now. Not the way that it's supposed to be. I'm coming up.
We can go ahead and remove the caliper. Remember, when you remove this caliper, you need to secure it somewhere where there is no pressure or tension or anything on the cable that it's attached to. I secured mine here. Now you can use like maybe a flathead screwdriver to pry those brake shoes loose, but I just basically just pulled it off directly with my hand. Comes off with little to no ease. So I like to inspect the brake shoes. So as you can see here, this one is almost all the way down to the actual metal. Look at that. It's pretty close. Now if we look at the other brake pad, had a nice amount of meat on it, so that one was still fine. Next we need to go ahead and pull off the brake pad holder. Again, I bought the kit that actually came with brand new holders. If you're comfortable keeping your OEM, you're going to need to use maybe some type of wire brush and a cleaner and get those cleaned up before you put them back on. The kit that I purchased ended up coming with the brake pad holders. They should fit exactly the way the OEM brake pad holders fit. Top and the bottom. They're exactly the same. It doesn't matter which one goes where. So now you're ready to put the new brake pads on. They actually pop directly into place. Just pop it in down at the bottom and then just slide it right in on the top. Now something very, very important that you need to know. The one brake pad that has the piece of metal, that is the device that tells you when the brake pads are wearing down. That one needs to go in the inside. That piece of metal right there at the very top. That is the squealing device that'll start squeaking when your brake pads start running down. You recall when I first pulled the first brake pads off, the one that was worn down the most was the one in the inside. Make sure you don't forget that if you want to be able to get that warning ahead of time. Go ahead and apply your brake grease and make sure you spread that all around the brake pad. We want to ensure that those calipers do not stick against those brake pads, so when you need to change these again, it comes off very easily for you. Now, before you can put the caliper back on the pads, we need to compress that piston. I ended up using a C-clamp. With the C-clamp, I just continue to slowly compress it until I can get that piston in and out the way, which will allow that caliper to go back over those brake pads. That's what it should look like once you're all done. Should be able to fit that right back on now. So once you have the caliper back on there, you'll need to align it up with the bolt holes so you can place the bolts back on. You will need your needle nose and your ratchet to tighten it back up. Probably want to apply somewhere around 30 to 50 pounds of pressure. At this point, I'm putting my brake pad covers back on. If you're interested in putting brake pad covers on your vehicle, just follow these video instructions on how to actually put the clamps on.
Miss me. You need to show me how you miss me, baby. Take me, I can't wait for your touch. Your touch, yes, till I miss you, lady. I can't wait to make love.
You should now be ready to put your tire back on. Once you put that tire back on, remember what we talked about. Use the cross pattern when you're tightening up your bolts. Go from side to side, right across from the bolt that you're tightening up. Make sure you pump the brakes 5 to 10 times while the vehicle's off and 5 to 10 times while the vehicle's turned on. You're ready to go. Very easy job that you can do directly at your home. I'm going to say you still have to be extremely careful because these are brake pads and this is responsible for your vehicle stopping. Also, the safety factor of making sure that that vehicle is secure while you have it lifted up in the air, because you don't want any incidents to happen. You can save a lot of money by doing this yourself.
But you wouldn't know because you never believed me. Made it to the surface but nobody can see me. With no life support I have no one to believe me. I'm coming up to the top just to get knocked down, not the way that it's supposed to be. I'm screaming hell but there's no one.